Welcome back to the channel. This is Trinity Storm and you are watching first part of What If Naruto Showed No Mercy. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe to the channel. Now wasting no more time, let's start the story.
It was nighttime in Konoha, and most people were either sleeping, out at a restaurant, or standing guard, keeping watch. At the beginning of the story, though, the focus is on a dark figure in a quieter part of the Leaf Village where most people live. This figure is a single person in a dark cloak and white mask who walks to a single house to do what he needs to do for the night. His goal was to cause pain and suffering to the one person who lived in that one building. This person had hurt him years ago, and it was time for this person to pay back his debts. This person was Hokage Kakashi. Right now, that man wasn't home, or at least not yet. He was out celebrating something the masked warrior hated very much at a local bar. It wasn't hard to get into the house because Hokage Kakashi was so well liked that no one in Konoha would have the guts to break in and possibly do something terrible to the experienced shinobi. They had never met him before, or at least not the same one. The person in the mask liked how dark this place was and couldn't understand why he tried for so long to be on the side where there was light. Ha! What a joke that was for him, and now it wasn't even funny, which made it even funnier in the mind of the unknown entity. About an hour later, the mystery man in the mask could tell that Kakashi was coming home, obviously drunk and with his senses dulled from drinking a lot of sake. If the man in the mask still had a little bit of his old self in him, he would almost feel sorry for Hokage. But he doesn't anymore, and he will never be kind to this man again. Not even death could help. As expected, Kakashi stumbled into the house because he was drunk. He didn't care if anyone saw him like that, so he tried to walk to the living room and fall asleep on the couch. But this thought was stopped when a figure stepped out of the shadows of the dark room. His mask made him look like a ghost or something. Hokage Kakashi, the figure said in a deathly whisper that helped Kakashi, who was drunk, slowly get a better idea of the mystery. Yes, Kakashi said, moving his hand casually to his kunai holster near his leg as he became aware of the second uninvited person in his home. I've come to take revenge on you in the name of the person you betrayed for another betrayer, the masked figure said as he took another step forward. May I ask who I've betrayed? Kakashi asked as he opened his kunai pouch in silence. Uzumaki Naruto, the figure said, seeing the man's feelings on his half-hidden, drunken face. Naruto? That Kyuubi reincarnated spawn? The same Uzumaki Naruto who killed my sensei and so many Leaf Shinobi 17 years ago? I didn't betray him. I got justice for those he killed when he was a demon, Kakashi said, his voice getting more serious even though he was drunk. According to who? You think I'm so stupid that I'll believe that lame excuse, Hokage? I know the real truth behind your lies, and I think if your sensei knew you betrayed Naruto 4 years ago at the Valley of the End, he would have spat in your face and disgraced you as one of his students, said the masked figure as he dodged several kunai and shuriken thrown at him by his prey. Shut up. You don't know anything. Do you know who I am? I'm Hokage Kakashi, the son of the White Fang, Uchiha Sasuke's sensei, and the one who killed the Kyuubi no Kitsune, also known as Uzumaki Naruto in human form, Kakashi said, trying to fight the figure with his bare hands. According to whom? Asked the masked man, whose voice was turning evil. Then a flash of red lit up the outline of his body, and the masked man moved so quickly that Kakashi, even when he was sober and had his Sharingan out, couldn't keep up with him. It can't be. He died? Kakashi's eyes widened in shock. He was almost no longer drunk because adrenaline was pumping through his veins. He reached for his headband to open the Sharingan eye, but a hand on his wrist and then a hand on his throat stopped him. You and all of Konoha will suffer, and everyone in the Leaf will know that soon the shinobi village that the Shodown founded with his brother more than 100 years ago will burn. In hell, said the figure behind the scared man as he tightened his grip on Kakashi's throat. Moments later, Kakashi passed out. The next day at Hokage Tower. As she waited for Kakashi to arrive at the Junin meeting, Tsunade sighed and wondered why she was still doing the job she hated so much. She grabbed the jewel around her neck, which was close to her big breasts. Jiraiya would have given his soul to the Shinigami to have his face deep in those breasts, so she said a silent prayer to the boy that made her believe again. Why did you have to die, Naruto? Why? I wish things hadn't gone the way they did in the Valley of the End, Tsunade thought as she closed her eyes and fought back the tears that were about to spill out. Hokage-sama, can I go look for Kakashi? He's later than usual, and he can't keep delaying this meeting any longer, said Asuma, who secretly wanted to smoke a cigarette outside but couldn't because Tsunade had told him not to. You might as well. Start with his house. The lazy jerk is probably still sleeping right now, Tsunade said as she watched Asuma leave. She knew what to do to wake the man up. A good punch in the face. The group in front of her, which included Kurenai, Anko, Genma, Guy, Shizune, and of course herself, waited for Asuma and Kakashi to return. Anko was nibbling on a dango stick, Kurenai was filing her nails, Guy was telling Genma that the man who ate senbon would almost choke on it if he wore green spandex, and Shizune was standing next to Tsunade and moving her feet every few seconds as she waited. Tsunade herself was tapping on the desk patiently before she got angry, leaving a clear mark with her finger on the wood of her desk. Where the hell are those two? Tsunade asked, getting more and more angry by the second. Those in front of her were afraid to move because they knew she would hit anyone who did something wrong. Iruka ran into the room shouting, Hokage-sama. Hokage-sama. He was deathly pale, his eyes were so wide they looked like they would fall out of his eye sockets, and he was sweating a lot. But it was more out of fear than from being tired. What? What's wrong? Tsunade asked Iruka as she looked at her, knowing that there weren't many things that could scare someone as calm as Iruka. It's Kakashi. He's been attacked, and I need your help right away, Iruka told the others in the room as he motioned for them to follow him. When they got to the man's hospital room, they could hear muffled screams coming from it. For a moment, Tsunade thought the man was either being killed or not getting painkillers. When the Hokage walked into the room and saw the man, she stopped in her tracks. She knew that no amount of painkillers could stop Kakashi's muffled cries of pain. Hitaki Kakashi's body had been, for lack of a better word, massacred. It was now wrapped in bandages from head to toe, and blood was coming out of the wounds. Or rather, if he had toes or hands, but what scared Tsunade was that Kakashi's body was only about half of what it used to be. If she hadn't seen so much blood, she would have screamed. His arms ended just past his elbows, and his legs ended just past where his kneecaps would be. His mouth was covered with bandages, so he couldn't speak. Hokage-sama, we're glad you're here. We've given him as much pain medicine as his body can handle, said one of the doctors, who almost lost his lunch when Asuma brought the man into the hospital. Tsunade asked, what happened to his body? What are the wounds behind the bandages? She didn't want to see for herself because the bandages were quickly filling with blood. I've never seen anything like it. His body has turned into something I can't even begin to describe right now. We almost lost him when he came in, but something is keeping him alive that I wish was somehow our work, and it's like the man is hanging by an invisible thread connected to whoever did this to him, said the doctor as he watched the man, or what was left of the man, struggle to scream out in pain. Tsunade asked Shizune, who stood next to her and was ready to help, what are his injuries? They didn't care that the other Junin were staring at Kakashi's broken body in shock and fear. Not only did Hitaki Kakashi lose all 4 of his limbs up to the joints, but his attacker also slashed, cut, stabbed, gutted, and finally mauled him. Either this was a sadistic enemy shinobi, or we could have another. Began the doctor, but Tsunade cut him off before he could say anything else. Tsunade didn't want people to say that some kind of demon was running around. Tsunade told the group, go to Kakashi's house and find some Inuzuka clan members in Anbu to help you figure out what happened there. The group nodded and left to find out who attacked Kakashi. Hokage-sama, there is something else you should know, the doctor said when she saw that she was looking at her again. What? Tsunade said, seeing that the doctor was very nervous at the moment. There's something else I didn't want to tell the other shinobi in the room about why Kakashi's face is bandaged up like it is now. When we tried to save him, we saw that both his Sharingan eye and his normal eye were gone. To make matters worse, his jaw and tongue had also been ripped out, the doctor said, noticing that Tsunade's face had also turned pale. That can't happen. Tsunade said. Her heart was beating faster because she was afraid of what was going on with this attack on Kakashi. It is Hokage-sama. I took a look. Before Kakashi-san's tongue was taken out, his jaw was broken in several places and his tongue was almost pulled out from where it was. Someone or something did this to him with the goal of making Kakashi feel a certain way. Pain, and a lot of it, the doctor said, knowing that he would have to drink himself to death to make this nightmare stop. Away from the hospital. The cloaked figure who had killed Hokage Kakashi looked down from a building across the street and saw the group of shinobi, minus Shizune and Tsunade, leaving the hospital and heading towards the victim's home. He cocked his head to the right, wondering if he should pay them a visit at the hospitalized man's home, but decided against it because they were nothing to him and his real goal was Konoha as a whole. Before going out to do what he had planned, the figure said, "It's finally time to get things going to make the Leaf Village run red with blood." Kakashi's house. Who could have done that to Hotaki-san, in your opinion? Genma said, as the sight of the once great Hokage Kakashi, who had been turned into something close to a walking corpse, sent shivers down his spine. He then made a noise. More like what could have caused that. I've seen a lot of messed up bodies, and I can tell you that none of them look like that. Whatever bad things happened in his house were meant to hurt his body. Kami only knows what the ordeal did to the poor jerk's mind, said Anko as he reached the taped-up door with Anbu guards on either side. It's not a pretty sight in there, said the Anbu member wearing an owl mask. If the group had looked behind the ANBU's mask, they would have seen that it was greener than Maida Guy's spandex uniform. The group walked into the house and saw that everything was fine except for the living room, which was taped up. When they looked into the living room, however, their faces turned pale and then green at what they saw. Kakashi's blood was all over the floor and walls, and words like traitor, murderer, and cheater were written all over them. Holy crap, said Anko when she saw the people behind her nod their heads. We're here, Kiba said, with Hana right behind him with their dogs. But when the dogs smelled the scent, they ran away in fear. What's wrong, Akamaru? Kiba said, knowing that the scene was awful, but not so awful that his partner would want to leave. Both the dog and Hana's dog made a whining sound, and the two Inuzukas looked at each other with worried eyes. Is there something you want to tell us, my scared young friends? Guy said, seeing that their faces didn't look good. Akamaru says that he can smell charka, which is the scent of demons, in this room. It's the same kind of chakra Naruto used against Neji during the Chunin exams, Kiba said, and everyone around him winced. Naruto's death had been very painful for Tsunade, and no one in the village was safe from the Hokage's anger if his name was brought up in the investigation. Are you sure? Kurenai said, knowing that Hinata wouldn't let anyone smear the name of the boy who had died. Sakura learned this the hard way when an angry Hyuga heiress almost tore off her arm. Positive. My dog sensed it too. Hana wondered what this could mean for the leaf. It's faint, but it's there, and it's definitely the same kind as Naruto-san's, she said. You don't believe. Kiba said, but his older shinobi friend gave him a look that made him stop. We have no idea. Right now, all we can do is guess. Let's keep gathering whatever evidence we can, and when the time is right, we'll give it to the Hokage, Kurenai told the others, and they all started to help the investigation team figure out what happened. Hokage's office after 4 hours. Tsunade fell asleep in her chair after using every medical trick, technique, and jutsu she knew to fix what she could of Kakashi's body. She was so tired that she didn't even want sake right now, which was saying something because she always had sake after a hard day of doing anything. Tsunade thought, I wish Naruto was here. If he was, I would give him this job right now and get the hell out of this dump to drink or gamble. But Kakashi told her that Naruto was dead because he gave his life to keep Sasuke in Konoha, and the two powerful jutsus used in that fight destroyed the blonde's body, leaving her with only the blood-stained necklace. Senju Tsunade, said the masked person coming out of the shadows. This made the woman look up at the person in front of her. What are you? How did you get in here? Tsunade said as she got to her feet and hoped that she still had enough chakra to fight. That doesn't matter now in either case. But I'm here for a simple reason. You have something I want, the man in the mask said, pointing to her chest and the necklace she was wearing. Many people have said that, and everyone who has worn it except me has died, Tsunade said, getting into a fighting stance because she had no plans to give up this necklace. Where the hell were her Anbu guards? If you're worried about your Anbu guards outside the door, I suggest you stop worrying about them since they're dead and pay more attention to me, said the masked man. He showed the slug princess a hand stained with fresh blood from one of her Anbu guards, which told her that he was telling the truth and that she should take him seriously. You attacked Kakashi, Tsunade said, pointing an accusing finger at the figure. The figure just turned his head to the side, as if to see if what she said was true, and then turned it back to its normal position. The traitor got what was coming to him. He hurt someone you cared about and hurt their family. Don't be sad for him. Do not defend him. If you defend the traitor, I'll do to you what I did to him, the masked man said, putting out his hand as if to tell her to throw the necklace to him, and he seemed sure that she would. Do I need to remind you that I'm a Hokage, and attacking one of the hidden villages will make you an enemy of the others? Tsunade asked, hoping that the fear of being hunted by all 5 hidden villages would make the enigma falter and give her the chance she needed. He didn't even budge. That's a good trick, Tsunade, but it won't work. I've already killed a lot of them, and the ones that are still alive have already bowed down to me, the man in the mask said, sounding quite pleased with his work. Wait. Iwa, Kumo, and what was left of Mist have come to you. Then that means you are the Tsunade said, her heart beating much faster as she thought about the different reports she had heard about how those villages had been destroyed and how, afterward, they had all given their power to one person. Correct. I am the Hokage, said the man in a mask. When she saw her eyes widen at the name he gave himself, even though he didn't have a real hidden village to call his own, he said, I am the Hokage. He was a Kage, but he didn't have a village. However, he was in charge of 3 different villages, and he was now rebuilding each of them. The man that killed 200 Junin from Sound, Orochimaru's right-hand man Kabuto, he was the decapitator of the Tsuchikage, and the Raikages while giving the ladder to the Hyuga branch clan in a box with the words, guilty, written on the dead bald Cloud Shadow's head. The former was sent to the Fire Daimyo with a note telling the feudal lord to not have anyone pursue him for anything that occurs later on in Fire Country or there would be hell to pay. What's the deal with the necklace? To pay for the 3 villages that bow down to you like hurt dogs? Tsunade said as she saw him lower his hand. She knew he knew she wouldn't give up the Shodem's necklace on her own. No. Just because the necklace you're wearing doesn't belong to you, the masked man said as he took a step forward. Tsunade tensed up and got ready to attack. About what are you talking? Since my grandfather started this village, this necklace has been in my family, Tsunade said, wondering what this man was up to with her. Yes. But you bet that necklace against someone, and that person won, so it belongs to him, the masked man said as he took a few more steps forward and Tsunade took a careful step back. He or she is dead. The necklace's curse killed them. I still don't understand why you say it's yours, Tsunade said. She was sweating, the hairs on the back of her neck stood on end, and his unyielding presence made her want to fall to her knees and give up. No. That person is still alive, the masked man in front of her said as he took off his white mask and hood to show Tsunade the face of Uzumaki Naruto. Tsunade was shocked. And Naruto? Tsunade said, noticing that the boy in front of her was now taller than her and that his face didn't look as friendly as it did when she first met him. His eyes were like a Kyuubi's, with fox-like slits for pupils. His birthmarks that looked like whiskers were more defined, almost as if he had grown whiskers. From what she could see, his hair was now blood red, and the light in the room made it look like it was shining with blood. He then put his hand out again, gesturing for her to give him the necklace since it still belonged to him. That's Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto to you, Naruto growled at Tsunade. Tsunade felt a huge rush of fear again, because this boy was looking at her as if she had killed him, and he seemed ready to kill her right now. Tsunade started to say, Naruto, But Naruto cut her off by growling at her with his eyes glowing with an unimaginable hatred. That's Namikaze-sama to you, old hag. Now give me the necklace or I'll kill you, Naruto said, making it clear with his eyes that he wasn't willing to talk. Did he just threaten me? The Naruto I know doesn't threaten people and demand things from them. Is this the work of the Kyuubi? Tsunade thought as she looked at Naruto in a new light that she didn't want to see since the last time she saw him. Since you don't seem to want to give me back the necklace, I'm going to ask you a question about my mother, Naruto said, lowering his hand and taking one more step toward the female Hokage. He was now close enough to hit her. What's up? Tsunade said, almost shaking from the evil look in his eyes. Why didn't you come back to the village when she was with me to keep her from dying during her pregnancy? Naruto said, his eyes so full of hate that Tsunade thought she was going to throw up. I didn't want to go back because I had bad memories of people I loved dying, Tsunade told him, hoping he would believe her. Instead, he had his hand around her throat and was holding her against a wall. Liar. Do you think I'm some sort of idiot, Baka? Do you think these look like a Baka's eyes? Naruto said, but his voice lost all sense of humanity and turned evil. Tell me what you want me to say. Tsunade said, trying to understand what Naruto meant. You don't remember? You don't seem to remember that my mother kept a journal that was locked up in the old man's desk. Maybe I should just remind you. About 6 months into my mother's pregnancy, the doctors did some tests that showed she would have serious problems when I was born that would probably kill her if not treated by a top doctor like you. My father asked you to come to Konoha within a few months to make sure that the problems she was having with giving birth didn't kill her. But based on what she wrote in her journal, you said no. Why? All because you owed my mom $400 from a gambling debt you made with her 2 years ago when she was still dating my dad. 400 Ryu. That was the price for my mother's life, because you were thinking about your money and couldn't stand the shame of being in Konoha to save my mother and pay her back the money you owed her. You wretched old drunken whore. To think that I almost died so that you could be the Hokage. Naruto said as his chakra turned completely evil and he slammed Tsunade into the desk from the wall, causing it to fall over. And Naruto. I'm sorry. I just. Tsunade said before she felt his foot hit her in the stomach, making her cough up blood. Shut up, you woman. I'm tired of hearing you plead, cry, and beg for help. I'm in Konoha to get what belongs to me. Money, scrolls, and anything else that either side of my family has marked. Don't think, though, that I won't leave without giving Konoha a proper farewell gift and saying goodbye properly. While you were saving Hitaki's last shred of what he calls a life, I was walking around this dump of a village I used to call home to take care of unfinished business, and I have a feeling it's going to go well. With a bang. Naruto said before snapping his fingers. He had just put Kyuubi's chakra, which was now his own, into his form. In just 3 seconds, explosions could be heard all over the village, along with the screams of people who were hit hard by the explosions. Naruto, please. Please don't do this, Tsunade said, wishing this was all just a bad dream. But it wasn't, and it wasn't just a bad dream, it was a nightmare. I told you, old hag. I'm taking what is mine by birthright, but the stupid council has kept it from me since I was born, and I won't let your precious Uchiha take it away from me. Oh, and while we're talking about him, what else? Tell him that I want to fight him again in 2 years. Tell him that I won't hold back this time, that I will kill him, and that I will make sure that he and the rest of the Leaf are remembered as the Yokokage's little girls. Naruto said, leaning down to whisper it in her ear with each word. He then took the necklace off of her neck. Naruto put his mask and hood back on and walked out of the room, ignoring Tsunade's crying. He didn't care that explosions were going off all over the village. Konoha streets. People were running around yelling that another shinobi village was attacking the village. They were so upset that they didn't notice him. With shinobi trying to figure out what was going on, it was easy to walk out the front gate after knocking the 2 guards away like they were nothing. People inside the orphanage were killed when it blew up, and the homes of people in Konoha who had made his life hard were also destroyed. Naruto no longer cared about people. He hated them with all his heart. He had already shown Iwa, Kumo, and missed how his mind worked when it came to these things. He just wanted to see the elemental countries burn before he gave them new life that only he could control. They were his pawns to play with, his loyal followers who would fight another set if he told them to, and so much more. It was because of him that the human race was even allowed to exist in the world. He was the one who brought both life and death. He was the Yokokage of the elemental countries. His name was Namikaze Uzumaki. Hokage Tower. Hokage-sama, Hokage-sama, said the 2 Anbu who were trying to help the woman get back to the land of the awake. They had first tried to find her at the hospital, but when they saw that the guards were dead, they feared the worst. Leave her alone, you idiots. Can't you see that she's shocked? Jiraiya asked. He had come to Konoha as soon as he heard what had happened to his former teammate in the village. Jiraiya, Tsunade said weakly as she looked up at the toad Sanin like a scared child. The man knew that whatever she saw was very big. Tsunadeheim, don't worry, everything will be fine, Jiraiya told the woman as he picked her up and put her on a nearby couch to help her calm down. I betrayed him, Jiraiya. We all betrayed him, and now he hates us for it, Tsunade said as she clung to him and her eyes filled with more tears. He held her close. Who? Tsunade, who did this to you? Who broke your spirit? Said Jiraiya, knowing that she knew what he was really saying. And Naruto. It was Naruto, Tsunade told the man before she started crying in his arms. The man was shocked because he thought his student was dead. It can't be. Kakashi said Naruto died in the Valley of the End. Oh, Kami, the prophecy. The prophecy is about to come true, Jiraiya thought as he held Tsunade closer and rocked her back and forth to calm her. Find him, Jiraiya. Find him and get him to stop. Tsunade looked up at the Sannin and said, "You are the only one who can," hoping he understood what she meant. "I understand," Jiraiya said, wishing he hadn't left his godson behind all those years ago and had been there for him when he needed him the most. Now, he had to kill the boy who used to be nice but had turned into a demon. Somewhere else, 2 days later. This has become a problem, Pain told his fellow Akatsuki members after he had gathered them all together. Or more accurately, what remained of them. Deidara and Sasori were dead. They had been killed by the Hokage a little over 6 months ago when they were trying to get the demon out of Subaku no Gaara. Sasori's puppets and the man himself had been destroyed, and Deidara was used to get the Hokage into Iwa, where he crippled the shinobi village and forced it to give up. If what's being said about Konoha is true, I think it's safe to say we're in big trouble, Pain-sama, Conan told their leader, who raised an eyebrow at her. Really? Just because we lost 2 members doesn't mean we're doomed. Those 2 were the weakest of us, and we still have more people than the Kyuubi vessel, Pain said, noticing that Kisame was nervous and Itachi was unsure. I heard he beat the Raikage and took one of our targets as his own bodyguard. Does that mean Itachi and Kisame are coming with us to get the Nibby? Hidan asked the leader of the group, who seemed to be thinking at the time. Maybe. If we can get both vessels, we can get our plans back on track faster. Also, don't forget about Suna's demon vessel. Once we get rid of the Kyuubi and Nibby vessels, we'll capture the Shukaku so we can get him out. Are we clear? Pain asked when he saw the group nod in agreement. Itachi asked, what should we do about Orochimaru? He's become more unstable since the death of his right-hand medical assistant, and he knows who did it. Itachi knew that even with his skills, Orochimaru's rage was nothing to joke about. Let the snake go after Naruto. If we're lucky, they'll weaken each other, making it easier for us to take care of them. Now go. Said Pain, who could see that all but one of the projectors were around his end. Pain, Conan said worriedly, something about this is bothering me. She knew that when she was worried, her feelings were usually right, so it was smart to pay attention to them. Pain asked, how so? He knew that Conan's senses were the best at sensing the dangers that were coming. Lately, I've been having disturbing dreams. The sky is bleeding red, the rain is the color of the darkest blood ever, and the ground around me was covered in an almost unearthly flame. It was as if I was in the very depths of hell, only hell was here, Conan said, hoping her mind wasn't playing tricks on her. Don't worry about it for now. Let's find the other demon vessels first before we deal with the visions you seem to be having, Pain told her when she nodded and her vision ended. Madara came out of the shadows and looked at Pain's projected form. Her dream was interesting, she said. Pain asked, is it a sign of things to come? Conan's intuition about these things was very important to Pain's mission. I don't know. I've been having the same dreams, except I'm in a blood-stained forest, the moon is blood red, and I hear the bloodthirsty howl of a fox not far away. Be careful, Pain, or all of our work will be ruined. I barely got out of mist without getting caught, and that was a few years ago. If those 4 fail, I may have to step in and die with the Kyuubi vessel myself. At the end of Pain's projection, the man also thought about what Conan saw and what Madara said. Not sure where. Welcome home, Yokokage-sama, Yugito Ni said in a seductive voice as she pressed her body against his and purred with pleasure. Naruto looked at the woman and asked, Yugito-chan, how are you? I want to make sure everything is okay while I'm gone. His voice had a bit of a warm tone to it. Good, but I was bored. Kimimaro was complaining again about how he couldn't join you on your trip to Konoha to make all those people pay for what they did to you. Honestly, I don't know why you made me resurrect him in the first place, Yugito said as she talked about Orochimaru's former bodyguard and potential body to steal. Because he needs to make up for his past mistakes when he worked for Orochimaru. You know that. I'm giving him a second chance at life with a new goal, Naruto said as he sat down on the couch in the room with Yugito right next to him. Yugito asked, but what about the other 2 you mentioned? Why weren't the other 2 from the man's mission to Wave Country also brought back to life? Let's let them rest in peace, Yugito. I don't want to make the 2 most important people in my life fight for me when they don't have to, Naruto said as he took off his mask and put it on the table in front of him. Once people find out who you are, a lot of them are going to try to kill you, Yugito told him as she put her head on his shoulder and looked at him with worry in her eyes. It doesn't matter. Soon I will crush them like they tried to crush me, and I will make it rain their own blood on their village. I will bring justice to all who have made people like us and others with painful pasts pay for it with everything they have, Naruto said as he touched the jewel around his neck. I love it when you talk like that, Yugito said, moving closer to him and purring closer to his ear. Naruto said, Yugito, you know that. But he was told to shut up by a finger on his lips. I know. I just want to be close to you. Even though you won't let anyone in, I'd like to think I'm pretty close. So let me be this close to you for as long as you'll let me, and hold me when I sleep, Yugito said, her voice getting more tired by the second before she fell asleep on him. Naruto said in a quiet voice, it's okay, Yugito. I'll hold you. He too was tired and fell asleep holding Yugito. Konoha Hospital 2 weeks later. Are you sure you want me to do this? If I go into his mind and see what he went through, I might not make it, Inoichi said, looking at Tsunade. Tsunade gave the man a hard, I don't give a damn, look, and the Yamanaka had to hold back a shiver that wanted to leave his spine. If we want answers, you have to do this. Now stop waiting and do it. Tsunade yelled in the second sentence, almost making the man mess up his hand signs and his clan's jutsu. Hokage-sama, if I may ask, what made Naruto? Shizune started, but Tsunade cut her off with a look of death that she had never given Shizune in all the years they had been friends, and it scared the younger woman a lot. Never say his name to me in the present tense, Shizune. As far as I'm concerned, that boy is dead to me. Everything he was has been corrupted or destroyed by the Kyuubi inside of him. Do you understand? Said Tsunade, making Shizune tremble in front of her teacher. Why yes, Hokage-sama, Shizune said, wishing that the woman hadn't become so sad and angry. The official damage report after what happened was terrible, and it wasn't just about the physical damage to the village. All of Namikaze and Uzumaki's money had been taken out of their bank accounts. Everything in Namikaze's compound, from scrolls to furniture, had been taken. The forbidden scroll had also been taken from its safe and replaced with a note that said, not worthy. The attack had caused a lot of damage to both civilians and shinobi. Homes had been destroyed, people's money had been stolen, and many lives had been cut short. The Hokage monument was broken for good, according to her Anbu who tried to fix it. The faces looked like they had been beaten until they were within an inch of their lives. The scars looked like they were filled with demonic energy, and other marks made it look like they were crying. Hokage-sama, I have Yuhi Kurenai and her former genin team with me, and they want to know what their mission is, said Iruka, who had just left the academy, or what was left of it, since the rooms were so badly damaged that going to class wasn't an option. He was glad that Konohamaru, his team, and Ebisu, who was their sensei, were going on a C-ranked mission to take a man to one of Fire Country's major ports. Send them in, Tsunade said without taking her eyes off the form of Hitaki Kakashi, who was still screaming in pain even though his mind was being taken over by Inoichi. The painkillers didn't seem to help. You called for us, Hokage-sama? Kurenai asked, knowing that whatever it was, it had to be important because it had to do with the one person no one was allowed to talk about. Jiraiya told me that he thinks he's found Nar the Kyuubi, but he needs help. Right now, you're all I can really spare because the village needs to recover, and I need someone to help my old perverted teammate, Tsunade told the group of 4. When she looked at their eyes, she saw that they widened, and they knew what she was getting at. Shino said, you need us to distract the demon so Jiraiya can finish him now that he has a human body. He knew he was treading on thin ice with his old teammate, but he was safe because he didn't say the name of the fallen shinobi, and he hoped the others would do the same. Yes. This is an SS-ranked mission and while we don't have the money to pay for it, I'll do what I can to pay you later down the road, and get you more support when it becomes available. I sent a request to Suna for help, but Gaara turned it down saying he owed his life to him because of Akatsuki, and refuses to betray him whether he's a demon or not, said Tsunade knowing the other reason was because the demon had spared Suna any kind of destruction so far. Even if the people of Wind Country didn't want to admit it, they had already given in to what the Hokage wanted. Naruto-kun, are you still you, or has the demon you held destroyed your spirit? Hinata hoped that the boy she had liked and cared about for so long was still the way he was. We'll leave right away, Hokage-sama, Kurenai said, because her team would need almost every piece of shinobi gear they could get their hands on to help Jiraiya. That is, if they could help. Inside Kakashi mind. Inoichi wished he could get out of Hitaki's mind right now so he could throw up before killing the man for what he had done to Naruto. The last straw was when Kakashi said Chidori to Naruto from behind in the Valley of the End. So it makes sense that the demon took over the boy and killed the man in order to get back at the village for mistreating the boat. Kakashi had sold Naruto to the mob more than once on his birthday, and once he almost hit him with a Chidori if the Sandame hadn't shown up. The former Anbu captain didn't show up for work many times, but the two councils always let him off if the Hokage wants to press charges against him. Inoichi thought, I don't know if I should be happy or scared about what I'm about to see, as he went into the man's memory of being cruelly tortured by a demon. It was quite a sight. You have no right to call yourself the slayer of Kyuubi or a student of my father. You are nothing but an insect that needs to know its place in the world, and I am the one to do it, Naruto told a tied-up Kakashi who was hanging in the air. Kakashi's head couldn't move because of a neck brace, and his arms were wrapped in heavy chains with each finger broken to stop him from using jutsus. You are not Minato-sensei's son. I am his only son. If that Uzumaki whore hadn't seduced him and made him help her have you, I would be the only child they would ever need, Kakashi said, which got him a clawed backhand to the face that tore the mask and flesh off the Junin. I'm sure my father would love to hear you say that to his face right now. Did you tell him how you felt? Did you call her a slut to his face? No. Because you were a spoiled little kid just like Sasuke. You always wanted everything and killed anyone who stood in your way. Inoichi was shocked because the demon who said he was Naruto just killed Kakashi without asking him any questions, as if he already knew the answers, and cut up the body of the Junin like a piece of meat. The man screamed for hours, and the seals on the walls that kept noise from getting out of the room were still working the whole time. Inoichi thought, well, it's not like Kakashi deserved it, when the demon finally stopped after taking out both of Kakashi's eyes and removing his jaw with his tongue. Inoichi, I know the old hag sent you in here to enter Hitaki Tomi's mind, so deliver this message to her from me. Tell her what I have done here and what Konoha went through is nothing compared to what I have in store for the elemental countries. Tell her, I know she is going to send Ero Sennin after me, and that I have my own grudges against him to deal with. Tell her, the next time she sees her old teammate, will be in a box with only his rotting flesh-covered skull. Inoichi stopped the jutsu because he was nervous and scared. He went back into his own body, where he was safe, while Tsunade, who saw him jump up, waited for his report. When Tsunade saw that the man was sweating a lot and looking at her with scared eyes, she asked, how bad is it? It's even worse than you think, Inoichi told Hitaki. He knows you'll send Jiraiya-sama after him, and he wants to kill the Toad Sannin for all the bad things he's done in the past. What questions did the demon ask Kakashi? Tsunade asked, wondering what the beast would want with Hitaki besides hurting him. Inoichi said, there was no question, Hokage-sama. Naruto tore him apart just for fun. He didn't realize he said Naruto's name in front of Tsunade, so she grabbed his throat and threw him against a wall. Tsunade yelled, never call that demon Naruto's name again in my presence. Do you understand? Her eyes were red with anger, and Inoichi thought she was going to kill him. You don't get it, Hokage-sama. It was Naruto. I'm telling you the truth. I swear it, said Inoichi, who was struggling to breathe but couldn't. You lie, said Tsunade, her eyes flashing at him in a dangerous way. I wish I was. He's getting ready to kill everyone around him. He doesn't care about you, Konoha, or any other place in the elemental countries. He just wants to see things die at his feet, Inoichi said, hoping the woman would stop squeezing his windpipe. When she squeezed his throat tighter for about 5 seconds, he started to worry about her life, but she soon let go of him and fell into a chair nearby. Did Kakashi really deserve his injuries? Tsunade asked as she watched Inoichi rub his throat to ease the pain. If you saw what I did, Hokage-sama, you would stop giving him painkillers and just kill him yourself, Inoichi said as he got up, though he was a little unsteady at first. I'll take your word for it, Tsunade said, her voice almost breaking by the end of the sentence. The two councils and the clan heads will want to meet about this, Hokage-sama, even though not many of them are still alive after what happened a few weeks ago, said Inoichi. Such a meeting hadn't happened yet, and with all that had happened and rumors flying around about Naruto's rebirth as a demon, it was hard to get any level-headed people to speak in such a meeting. Those haughty fools are the reason why the Yondaime's dying wish wasn't granted in the first place, Tsunade said, though she had to hold her tongue after that because she was such a fool for not going back to Konoha to save Kushina when she needed her, all for a small amount of money. You wretched old drunken whore! Screamed a voice in her head, echoing Naruto's words that were filled with evil and cut right into her soul. Inoichi asked the woman, Hokage-sama? Hokage-sama? Are you okay? You just lost track of time for a second. The woman looked like she was going over a memory in her head. Yes, I'm fine. Tell the councils and clan heads that we'll be meeting later today. It's long overdue, said Tsunade, hoping that things wouldn't get out of hand. Those who hated Naruto didn't think they needed to be humbled by anyone except the Fire Daimyo, and when he came to visit, they just sucked up to him. In or around Grass Country. Yugito told Naruto, he's almost here, and Naruto nodded because he could feel Jiraiya coming at him. After so many years, he had called Gamakichi and told him to tell the super pervert where to find him. Please be careful, Naruto-sama. Jiraiya-sama is a master of seals and will try to use his knowledge against you along with all the jutsus he has in his arsenal, Kimimaro told Naruto after Yugito brought him back to life and Naruto used his powers to make Kimimaro's body what it should have been. The Hokage even made him immune to the lung disease that had crippled him in the past. This immunity would be passed down to the albino's descendants, making sure that the Kagaya clan's legacy would continue. I know about these things, Kimimaro. That's why I've brought you two along as backup. Keep your eyes and ears open for anything, okay? Naruto said as he put on his mask and got ready to move into the clearing. Yes, Hokage-sama, they both replied as they went their separate ways. Behind his mask, Naruto smiled. Oh, he wished he had teammates like them in Konoha, and he still wished he was loved like that damned Uchiha. There was no doubt that more than one council member wanted the last Uchiha to stay at their house and chat with the moody girl. It was a good thing that he stole the Uchiha clan's long list of jutsu scrolls and the Sharingan secrets, which they didn't want anyone else to know. Jiraiya the Toad Sannin was now standing in the clearing and looking at him. Naruto couldn't help but laugh at the serious look on the man's face. If you had been this serious when I was training to become an Arrow Sennin, I could have gotten stronger and not had to work so hard to bring Sasuke Teme back to Konoha, Naruto said, seeing Jiraiya frown at him even more. The former demon vessel wondered if the Sannin was really going to attack first and then ask questions. Jiraiya got into his toad hermit fighting stance and said, I thought I told you years ago that you had to do things on your own. Did you train my father the same way? Naruto asked the Sannin with a hint of anger in his voice when he saw the Sannin wince. Jiraiya said, so you know. You are Naruto under that mask, aren't you? You're not the Kyuubi. He wasn't asking a question. He was just making a statement. Naruto replied by taking off his mask and hood to show his face. The Kyuubi is no longer in me. After Kakashi hit me in the back with that Chidori, he left me to die in a watery grave, which is how I would have died if the Kyuubi hadn't made a last-ditch effort to get out, Naruto told the man. He felt that the man needed to hear this before he died so that he could understand what it meant to be what he had become. Valley of the End, 5 years ago. His body started to sink into the water. His eyes were closing and opening quickly, like he wanted to fall asleep, and his lungs were filling up with water. As this was going on, Kyuubi could see that the boy's mindscape was starting to fall apart, and the Demon Lord knew that if he didn't do something soon, his time would be up. Kyuubi said, I will not be silenced so easily by being killed while sealed away in a mortal child. He then took all of his chakra and slammed it against the bars of his prison, hoping for a chance to be free. Sure enough, that demon's power made the gate bend and melt before the paper holding it together, which said, Seal, in big letters, burned away, letting the cage doors open. After being trapped in this weak body for over a decade, Kyuubi was happy to finally be free, and he was ready to get revenge on that sad shinobi village. He was so excited about causing trouble in the world that he didn't even notice when he walked out of the cage that the mindscape form of his vessel was staring at him with serious eyes. Where do you think you're going? Naruto asked the Kyuubi in a voice that was clear and got its attention. Get out of my way, you tiny human. You're about to die, and I'm about to be free again. But don't worry, I plan to attack your precious leaf village again, and this time I plan to win, Kyuubi said with an evil grin and bloodlust in his eyes. I can't let you do that, Naruto said calmly when he noticed that every few minutes, the lights in the room flickered. Kyuubi said, oh, and why not? As a joke, as if he was daring Naruto to fight back and try to beat the Demon Lord. Because that's a privilege I should have, not you, Naruto said with a deep frown and a voice that left no room for debate. You stupid little ape rat. What makes you think you can stop me from leaving? Kyuubi said, ready to kill his vessel and leave the body for freedom. It's simple, really. I can stop you with my mind, Naruto said as blue chains came out of the walls of his mindscape and wrapped around Kyuubi, holding him in place. Soon after, pipes came out and went through Kyuubi's body. Kyuubi said, "This can't be happening. How can you do this to me?" He had never felt this scared before and didn't understand how the young man in front of him could do this. "Like I said, it's my mind, so my rules. The chains are just to hold you down, and the pipes stuck in you are connected to my chakra network to drain your chakra. In short, I'm going to absorb you completely and become the new demon lord among the 9 to take your place," Naruto said, seeing Kyuubi's eyes widen because he didn't expect his vessel to do anything like this. Kyuubi said, "You can't handle all of my power and all of the knowledge I have in my mind. You'll explode." He knew that even this boy had limits and that he wasn't ready to handle such demonic power. "Not unless I spread it all over my body evenly. The problem with a human's chakra network is that it's so complicated that it limits humans in a way. But a demon lord's body is made of pure demonic chakra and doesn't need chakra coils. So what I plan to do is rework my chakra system from here, and when I'm done absorbing you, I'll be reborn in a way as the new Kyuubi among the 9. But nothing worked, and the Kyuubi knew it was going to die. At least his memory would live on in the vessel he was trapped in, though. "There is something you should know about Akatsuki before I die," Kyuubi said, deciding that he might as well help his vessel in some way. Naruto asked the demon lord, "What exactly?" When he saw that he wasn't joking when he looked at him. "Beware of Uchiha Madara. He is the founder of the clan, but he couldn't share power with others and was defeated in battle against the showdown. He called me to destroy Konoha and make you suffer with the leaf. If there is only one person you have to kill in this world, it is him and those scumbag descendants of his," said Kyuubi, knowing that the world didn't need more than one Uchiha Madara. "When I'm old enough, I'll deal with him, but for now, I'm going to do my own thing and deal with my enemies in my own way," Naruto said, feeling like the change had already started and he was feeling different. "Okay, I'll leave my power in your very capable hands, my vessel. If you never do anything else, though, do me one favor, kill them all and make them suffer," Kyuubi said. He could feel himself splitting in different ways, and soon the chains fell and the pipes only touched air. Naruto just gave a small nod in the direction of where Kyuubi had been. Flashback is over. But why attack Konoha? It's your home. Jiraiya asked the boy, who had his head tilted to the right as if he were thinking about it. "That's an interesting question. Here's one of my own. Why weren't you there for me when I needed you, Godfather?" Naruto asked, seeing the man's face turn pale because he didn't think Naruto would find out about that. Jiraiya asked the young man, who was wearing a cloak, "How do you know about that?" When he saw red demonic chakra in the form of light dancing around his body. "My mother's diary. She wrote in it every day until she died giving birth to me. It told me everything I needed to know, especially the part where you were supposed to take care of me," said Naruto, filling the clearing with a haze of demonic red chakra that made Jiraiya step back. "I couldn't. After Minato died, the councils told me I couldn't, and they sent me on missions to find out about the other villages," Jiraiya said, shielding his eyes from the power wave Naruto was sending out. "Liar. My mother overheard you talking to the Sandaime about being my godfather. You turned it down, saying you would rather do research than spend time with your godson, unless it gave you more research material for your stupid books. The Sandaime was right to think you were a loser, Ero Sennin. Even Orochimaru thought you were a loser." Jiraiya was furious now because his former student had insulted him by saying that he had only started training after he seemed to have died. "I'm going to make you wish you'd never said that," Jiraiya said, knowing that Naruto's mind had been corrupted by the power of the dead demon. "I'm going to make you wish you hadn't left me when I was a child like I was worthless, and I'm going to make you beg me for forgiveness before I kill you," Naruto said, flexing his clawed hands as he carefully watched Jiraiya, who he knew was a Sannin for a reason. And so it began, 5 years ago. When the people of Konoha heard that Uchiha Sasuke had killed Naruto, which kept the Uchiha prodigy from running away long enough for Kakashi to grab him, they were overjoyed and threw a village-wide party. They got their Uchiha back, and the demon boy was dead, so the missions were a double win for those who wanted those things to happen. If anyone had gone back to the Valley of the End, they would have found that the boy they thought was dead was still very much alive. The sky above him turned a very dark red, and lightning kept hitting the water in the valley at the same spot. If anyone had been there to see this strange event, they would have seen a bloody hand rise from the water and red lightning enter the outstretched limb before the hand made a fist. Naruto slowly climbed out of the water in the valley. He looked like he had made it through the 9th level of hell. He took long, shaky breaths and looked around at the place that had just been a battleground before going into the forest. Naruto ripped off what was left of his torn orange coat, leaving only his slightly better black t-shirt, and headed toward the border of Fire Country. One day, I'll burn Konoha to the ground and make the people there beg for mercy that I won't give them. I'll throw everything they care about at their feet. It will be like killing their own children, and I'll keep doing it until they see that their hands are stained with the blood of innocent people, Naruto thought when he came across a camp full of bandits having a party while tying up and blindfolding some women who didn't want to be there. I can't wait to get my hands on those women we caught. Once we break them in, we can sell them to any brothel we want as sex slaves, said one thief with an eye patch on his eye and a sinister look in his eyes as he looked at the scared women. Who gets who? There are more of us than of them, and I want my share with them tonight since I helped catch the girls, said another thief with several scars on his face as he flipped a knife back and forth in his hands. I'll get them all first. I'll break them in, and then you guys can have them before they come back to me, said the man, who was clearly the leader of these thieves because he was the biggest and fattest. Another thief drank some sake and said, "You heard the boss," before getting up to go to the bathroom and pee. He was heading toward Naruto, but Naruto didn't care. He was so angry right now that he didn't care if they saw him or not, and to be honest, it didn't matter. The drunk guy died before he even realized Naruto was only a few millimeters away and covered in blood. After Naruto killed the bandit, he walked right into the camp even though he was covered in the blood of their friend. As soon as they saw his bloody body, he attacked. Women who were tied up heard screams of pain and death close by while they moved away from the sounds. They whimpered, shivered, and whispered prayers of forgiveness to the person or thing that killed the bandit army. When the bandits' screams finally stopped, the women's hands were freed, but they didn't move because they were afraid of what was behind their blindfolds. They could only hear the person's breathing. You're all safe, but don't tell anyone who saved you, because I have to stay hidden and I want you to go back to your families, Naruto said in a demonic voice that made the women quickly nod. When they took off their blindfolds an hour later, they saw that all but a few pieces of tent fabric and what looked like clothes had been taken from the bandits' camp. Hokage Tower. Tsunade was crying as she held the stupid necklace that had killed so many people she cared about. She wished she could just break this jewel in her hand. But no matter how hard she tried, her hand wouldn't squeeze hard enough to make the damn thing into powder, which made things even worse. Of all the people that necklace could kill, I never thought it would be Naruto, Jiraiya said as she sat in a chair next to her. She then looked out the window and saw that people were happy that the Uchiha were back and that Naruto was dead. It doesn't matter. Now I have no reason to be Hokage. I should just get the hell out of here and never come back, said Tsunade. The idea was starting to sound really good to her, and the more she thought about it, the more her body started to tell her to get up and leave. Oh no, you don't. You can't leave now, Tsunade. If you do, things will get worse in Konoha, and even my advice won't stop those idiots on the council. If you leave now, the council will choose Danzo to take over, and he'll destroy everything your grandfather built in this village, Jiraiya said, remembering the look she had when she wanted to leave years ago. I can't even give Naruto a proper funeral here. The council decided that Naruto's existence should be suspended until further investigation and that his status should be decided when they feel like it, said Tsunade, knowing that Naruto's status would never be decided and that he would never get the funeral he deserved. The people in Wave Country are going to be so upset. If we didn't have a binding contract with them right now, I think they would stop all trade from here, Jiraiya said, knowing that the people there loved Naruto like he was their favorite son. The Kazekage didn't look too happy either. He told me the alliance with Konoha is now over and can expect no form of mercy should any Konoha shinobi enter Suna. The fury in his eyes makes me shiver even now and I can barely imagine what is going on inside the young boy's head, said Tsunade seeing the look of bloodlust in Gaara's eyes at the people loving the news of Naruto's death rather than mourning it. The other rookies who weren't on the mission were devastated by the news, and I can only imagine how the others will react as well. Sakura, on the other hand, doesn't seem to care since she's just glad the Uchiha's back and isn't even crying for Naruto, Jiraiya said, knowing that girl had some serious problems and needed a good kick in the behind to get her head on straight. I was going to think about making her my apprentice since she knows how to use chakra, but I decided against it because I don't want to train fangirls, Tsunade said. Jiraiya said, the council will try to make you, knowing they would use their all-knowing power on her. Then they can go to hell. I'll decide who I train, not them. I'll still be in charge of that much of my life, Tsunade said as she looked at Jiraiya with dark eyes that soon turned sad again. Elsewhere 1 week later. Naruto went to a village just across the border from Fire Country into Lightning Country at night. The village was very quiet, which was good for someone like him. As soon as he walked in, Naruto ducked into a nearby alley to hide from the curious nightlife. He then started walking around, hoping to find a shinobi store that sold things only shinobi could buy. Naruto could be one or even a missing nin, since he was probably declared dead if Kakashi told the people of Konoha what happened. Naruto went with his gut and found what he was looking for, an old-fashioned shinobi store that was closed for the night and full of shinobi-style gear. From the looks of things, it was a family business like the one that girl with the bun hair had back in Konoha, and it was clear that the easiest way in was through the window on the second floor. After sneaking into the house shop, Naruto made his way down the stairs to the shinobi gear and took what he needed. Shinobi standard weapons, dark Anbu clothes with a vest, combat boots, a black cloak, and a plain white mask that Anbu could paint to look like any animal they wanted. Naruto, on the other hand, didn't see why he should paint it at all, since he would be just like the mask and use it to make everyone around him afraid. He would be blank. An enigma. A mystery. A shinobi who didn't have any allegiances and didn't care about anyone but himself. If he managed to get people to join his cause, he would turn them into his tools. Naruto got his things together and was about to leave, but the boy saw something interesting on the wall and made him stop. It was an interesting looking sword to him because it had a rare type of blade and a long hunting knife right next to it. Taking the weapons from the shelf, the blonde boy walked out the door and started walking toward Wave, which was his next destination. He needed a place to get his thoughts together, and Wave Country was the best choice because he needed to talk to some old friends there. Suna. Kankuro, who had worked hard to get a new peace treaty signed, asked Gaara, "Are you sure this is a good idea? After what happened, we can't afford to be Konoha's enemies again. The Wind Daimyo won't let it happen a second time. You don't understand Kankuro because you're not like me or Uzumaki-san. You've never been hated, attacked, or denied love by others because of their stupidity. Those ungrateful people in Konoha celebrated Naruto's death when they heard about it. Celebrated. If I could, I would have crushed them all with my sand and fed their blood to Shukaku as my own personal tribute to Uzumaki Naruto, I would have." Kankuro saw that Gaara's eyes were almost the same as they were before Naruto came into her life. The kind that isn't too friendly. Kankuro said, "I'll start writing a letter to the Wind Daimyo to explain what you did, Gaara. I just hope he understands why you did what you did." He then left to write a great letter for his brother to read and approve. "What do you think, Tamari?" Gaara asked his sister, who was standing next to him and looking confused. "It's not my place to question you, Gaara. As the Kage of Suna, I'll trust you and believe you're doing the right thing no matter what you do," Tamari said, knowing that even though Gaara's eyes were cold again, they always seemed to stay warm when she or Kankuro were around to ease his pain. She prayed to Kami that Gaara would stay sane until the end of his life. Wave Country, 4 days later. People in Wave Country had named a bridge after Naruto. As he walked across it, he smiled, even though his mask covered his face. Every day that went by, Naruto could feel his body grow, and the clothes he wore grew with him. This was because the model he used was based on shinobi whose bloodlines made their bodies grow in different ways, like the Akamichi. When he looked at his height 2 days ago at a nearby lake, the former Konoha shinobi would guess that he was about the same height as Shino, if not a little bit taller. After crossing the bridge, Naruto went to the one place he needed to go to start his revenge plan and get rid of any ties he still had to Konoha. It was the only place that could set him free on the path he had in mind and give him a clear head about the whole situation. He went to the graves of Zabuza and Haku. He walked up to the 2 graves and was glad to see that they hadn't been defiled or ransacked by some stupid drunk or moron trying to make a name for himself by claiming the demon of the mist was dead. The graves looked as if the 2 people had just been buried a few days ago, not months ago. It made him sad that he couldn't save either one of them from dying. Naruto took off his sword and knife and got down on his knees in front of the grave. He then put the 2 weapons on the ground next to him. Slowly, he took off his mask and took off his hood, revealing his blood-red hair, which no one had ever seen before and lived to tell the story. "Hey Zabuza. Hi Haku. How's everything going?" "Bad question. Sorry about that. Listen you guys, my visit isn't exactly what you call scheduled, so I can't stay long, but I need to confess some things to you that you need to hear. Zabuza, I think I understand why you betrayed the Mizukage when it came to trying to take over. It's made me respect you even more. You were serving a master that you could not stand for whatever reason it was that made you try to kill him, and during that time you struggled to get the strength needed to fight him. You did what you had to do, and I respect that. Haku, I'm sorry for failing your philosophy in being truly strong when protecting someone we consider to be precious to us. Even though we just met, I know we could have been good friends if you had lived after what happened on the bridge, and I hope you can forgive me in not saving you when you needed me the most. I've tried taking your words to heart, using them as my own nindo to honor your beliefs, but no matter how hard I try I find it's impossible since all those I consider precious to me don't return such affection. I've come to a realization about the elemental countries, Haku, that you're not going to like when I tell it to you, said Naruto before hearing a twig snap behind him and putting his mask on, turned to see it was Inari of all people looking at him in shock. Big brother? Asked Inari, amazed by what the young shinobi had become when he saw Naruto. Hi, Inari. Come with me. You need to hear this, too, Naruto said as he took off his mask because there was no point in hiding it from the boy anymore. Inari walked up to Naruto and sat down next to him. We thought you were dead, but you look different, he said. Naruto said, I went through a lot of changes after I seemed to die at the hands of my own sensei. That's what I wanted to talk to you two about, so listen and don't talk over me, okay? The boy nodded his head firmly. His sensei let him down? The leaf didn't say anything like that. What's happening? Thought Inari, but Naruto spoke to the two gravestones again, which broke up his thoughts. Since the people of Konoha became arrogant, it has spread to the other villages like a cancer, slowly killing what each village stood for. Because of this and because my own sensei betrayed me, I will have to do some horrible things that I may regret one day, but until then, I must do this, and I will accomplish my goal. I'm going to kill them. I'm going to be the one to kill them. Big brother, thought Inari as tears rolled down his cheeks as he saw the older boy look down at him. The older boy then stroked the innocent child's hair and laughed softly. I'm going to kill them all by giving each of them a lethal dose of poison, Naruto said, grinning at the thought as he pulled Inari closer to his form. How much pain did they make Big Brother feel? When Inari saw that Naruto's eyes had turned red from anger, he wondered how his hair had become so red. A poison that is simply vulpine, Naruto said as he closed his eyes and then opened them again to look at Inari. Inari asked Naruto, you're going to do a lot of bad things, aren't you? He already knew the answer, but he wanted to hear it from Naruto. Naruto said, only on the wicked people of the elemental countries, Inari. The innocent will be spared my wrath, but the wicked will fall before it. He knew that Inari, being so young, was confused by what was going on. You're going to have to turn yourself into a monster, said Inari in a way that wasn't really a question but more of a statement. Sometimes, Inari, the only way to beat a monster is to become a bigger monster, Naruto told the boy. When you're older and wiser, I'm sure you'll understand what I mean, he said, looking at the boy with what could pass for kind eyes with his red demonic eyes. I missed you, said Inari after he heard that Naruto had died and had cried so hard for his dead adopted brother. But he was here now, even if it was just for a short time. You are one of the few people who can do Inari. Let's go pay your family a quick visit, Naruto said, knowing that the other two would be happy to have him around, even if it was just for a few hours. After 3 months, Sound Village. Orochimaru-sama, I've heard from our contact in Konoha, and he says that in a month, we'll be able to strike Konoha for long enough to get Uchiha Sasuke back, said Kabuto. He had heard this from a trusted Fuma clan member, who had heard it from a root Anbu from Konoha, who had heard it from Danzo, who had heard it from Danzo. Good. Send 200 shinobi who are all Junin level to Konoha to get Sasuke-kun. You will be in charge of this mission, Kabuto, so I expect you to get Sasuke-kun back safely. If you fail, said Orochimaru, letting the threat hang in the air for the medic Nin to tremble at the thought of what might happen if he failed. I'll make sure the retrieval goes well, Orochimaru-sama, Kabuto told his master before he left to take care of this task. The Kyuubi vessel may have delayed my time with Sasuke, but in the end, I will be the one to have the last Uchiha in my grasp, and when I do, I will finally be able to take the next step in knowing all the jutsus in the world, said Orochimaru with an evil smile covering his mouth before letting out a cruel laugh. Border of the Rice Country. Were you being followed? Asked the person in the black cloak and mask to the Fuma clan member, who bowed to her master and shook her head to show that she wasn't. No, master. My family made sure I took the right path to get to you, but I made sure just in case, and I have the information you asked for, said the young woman from the Fuma clan who wore a mask over her face. Good. What do you have to say? Asked the man in a mask as he looked down at the young girl he had just saved by beating the leader of her clan and gaining their loyalty. Orochimaru is sending Kabuto and 200 Junin level shinobi to Konoha because he thinks there will be a chance to get the Uchiha back from the leaf, the girl said, not sure if she should look up at her master to see what he would do. So the trick worked. That's great. You've done a good job, Sasama. As a sign of good faith on my part of the deal, your clan will leave Orochimaru's service after I cripple the Habi for an undetermined amount of time. Once you leave, I want you to go to Wave Country and ask for refugee status there until your clan can be re-established there. It's time for the Fuma clan to get some fresh air and grow. Thank you, Master. I'll do it right away, said Sasama. She had seen a bit of the mysterious stranger's power when he killed a few masked sound shinobi who were chasing her, so she knew better than to doubt the person she worked for. In her eyes, he fought like a demon, and if she betrayed him, she would not want to face a demon like that. Soon, Orochimaru, I will take something from you that you value, and I won't stop until I see you broken and begging for your own death at my feet, said the masked figure before he went to the route he had planned out in his mind as the best place to attack this army led by Kabuto. Even if more blood didn't fall on the world, it could use it. 1 month after nightfall, Kabuto and his small army rushed through the forest to get to Konoha as fast as they could. They wanted to take advantage of the chance that was right in front of them. Orochimaru had made it clear that they couldn't fail to get Sasuke back when they had so many shinobi and so many things going for them in this mission. If they failed, there would be serious consequences that would hurt a lot. Go straight to the Uchiha estates. Don't mess around or talk to anyone in Konoha. Our goal is to get Sasuke out of Konoha and into the hands of Orochimaru-sama. Understand? Kabuto asked his second-in-command. The man nodded, having seen what the Sannin was capable of and not wanting to be on the receiving end of it. Painful screams came from among the group, which made Kabuto turn around to see what was going on behind him. To his horror, he saw that his team was being destroyed. The man saw that there was blood everywhere and that his army was being wiped out. The attacker had started to cut, stab, decapitate, and hurt people in ways that Medic Nin didn't even know were possible. Kabuto couldn't do anything because he was frozen with fear. His army was down to just him after the figure brutally cut the throat of his second-in-command, causing a fountain of blood to come out and rain down on the man's killer. It's been a while, hasn't it, Kabuto? You're still Orochimaru's fuck toy, huh? So, he sent you to get the Uchiha, right? I still can't believe he bought the information that was given to him, said the masked figure as he walked toward Kabuto. Kabuto hardened his resolve and took out 2 kunai while the figure put his blades away. You seem to know me and Orochimaru-sama well, but I don't know you. Why don't you do me a favor and tell me your name? Kabuto asked, hoping to get some information about this person to Orochimaru to make up for the fact that this mission had failed. I'm sorry, Kabuto, but I don't give my name to the dead, the figure said in a quiet voice as he walked with an unnatural grace that made Kabuto, to put it mildly, nervous. I'm not dead yet, said Kabuto as he quickly moved to attack the figure. The figure caught Kabuto's right hand first, then his left, and then broke them off at the wrist. You'll be there soon. Don't worry, Kabuto. You'll be there soon, the figure said as Kabuto fell to the ground and screamed in pain because his healing powers couldn't bring back his lost hands and he was now useless to his master if he came back. Please don't kill me. I'm safe now, and I don't hurt you or anyone you care about, Kabuto said, hoping that this man had some kind of faith in being kind to others. Really? I thought you told me I wasn't good enough to be a shinobi in this world, Kabuto. Considering how your people were wiped out, I'd say your assumptions about me when Ero Sennin went to get the old hag were very wrong, said the masked man, drawing his sword again when he saw Kabuto realize who he was talking to. You? No, that can't be you. Our spies told me you died, said Kabuto, who had heard the news right away and told Orochimaru. Orochimaru was happy to hear it and said it made up for losing the Uchiha. Your story is wrong. I didn't die. I was just reborn, said the masked person before cutting Kabuto in half diagonally. The figure walked up to the upper body of the dead Sound Nin and cut the head off of the neck. Then, it pulled out a sealed scroll that revealed a wooden box and put the head of the dead man in it. Putting the box back in the scroll, the figure took out a demonic exploding tag, lit it on fire, and threw it into the middle of the bodies or what was left of them. He then disappeared into the night, leaving only the sound of an explosion to let people know he was still alive. His next destination. Kumo. Hokage Tower 3 days later. The day was not going well for Tsunade. For one thing, the council told her that she had to train Sakura to be her apprentice as the next Sannin, and Jiraiya had to train Sasuke to be the other apprentice so that the Uchiha wouldn't get close to Orochimaru. She had turned down both requests, telling them that Jiraiya would never take on another apprentice after what happened the last time, and that Sakura would never train because she was still a fangirl who was more interested in the Uchiha than in keeping her skills sharp. Even worse, the bodies of a whole army of sound ninjas were found near the walls of Konoha. They looked like they had been brutally killed. No one took credit for it, and no one outside of Konoha even talked about it. What was even stranger was that Kabuto was the only one of the dead sound ninjas whose head was missing. "Anything from your spy network, Jiraiya?" Tsunade asked her old teammate, who was looking pretty serious since Naruto's death had taken away some of his usual sense of humor. Aside from the fact that Orochimaru is furious as hell? No. It seems that the Fuma clan was the one who betrayed Orochimaru in this scheme, and in exchange they were allowed to leave Rice Country for greener pastures. "I don't know where they are going yet, though, because they could go anywhere at this point," Jiraiya said, as the Fuma clan had left in a hurry, taking everything but the clan house with them, and Tsunade asked, would it be possible to get them to come here? She knew that a clan like that could bring much needed strength to Konoha. "I tried that already. I sent a contact to meet with the clan head, but he ran into someone that guy works for, and let's just say that person said no," Jiraiya said. He didn't want to tell her that his contact was sent back to him with no limbs and the word, no, carved into his chest. Something like that would make her feel warm and fuzzy inside. Damn, so the Fuma clan is being protected by a skilled person. He must be a Sannin level to do what he did so easily, and the fact that he killed Kabuto so easily tells me that even Orochimaru won't want to fight this person. Yeah. I'm going to keep looking, but I don't think it's anyone important who could threaten our old teammate. In fact, I don't think he's even on Akatsuki's radar as a possible recruit, Jiraiya said before he left through a window, much to the Hokage's dismay. 2 years after Kumo. A figure in a cloak sat at a table in a local shop and drank tea. He looked around and saw that the place was just like Konoha. Children were playing, people were talking with smiles on their faces, and there was a sense of safety that any shinobi village worth its kunai would fight for. "Catch the devil!" shouted someone with a voice that sounded like cheers. It had the same pride as well. The figure put on his mask before he turned his head and saw a Kumo shinobi just a few years older than him running for her life from a group of people who were trying to kill her. The figure was surprised by this because the woman should have been able to fight off her attackers easily with her skills. However, he noticed that some of Kumo's shinobi were also attacking, and they were making hand signs that made the woman fall down. "I see. So they put some kind of seal on her body to make sure she couldn't run away. That's interesting. It looks like the Nibby vessel is in the same situation as I was. Well, I guess it's time I introduced myself," thought the figure as he got up from his seat, paid for his meal, and walked over to the crowd that had gathered around the poor demon vessel. "Now, demon, we're going to show you what it means to know your place in the world is at our feet, and make sure you always obey your Raikage," said a Kumo Anbu, making another hand sign that made the woman scream in pain and try to fight for her life. Soon, the Kumo Anbu's tortuous pleasure was cut short when he felt a pain in his body. When he looked down, he saw a clawed hand coming out of it, starting in the middle of his back along the spine. As soon as the arm was removed, the figure fell in a heap of his own blood, and the mob turned its attention to the person who killed the Kumo Anbu. "You have no shame. You treat this woman like she's a demon, but you're worse than sin yourselves," said the figure kneeling next to the Nibby vessel. He saw that she was shaking a little in his presence, but she stopped when he stroked her cheek and told her it would be okay, and she knew she could trust him. "Demon lover. You were working with the world's demons to kill us. You're betraying your own kind," said someone in the crowd, which made the others say other things that made them feel brave again. But the dark laughter they heard coming from the mystery in front of them stopped them. "Fools. Who said I was human?" the figure said before unleashing his killer intent on the crowd. The crowd froze in fear as they saw red demonic chakra shoot out of the figure's body, and before they could run, they were cut to pieces at superhuman speed. The crowd of at least 30 people soon exploded into a sea of blood that rained down on the figure, who didn't care. He then turned his attention to the demon vessel of the Nibby, who was barely conscious. The woman shivered as the figure covered in blood walked over to her and started to pick her up. She tried to fight, but all she could do was stay in his surprisingly comfortable grip. Soon after he left the area, she fell asleep. Raikage Tower 3 days later. What do you mean you can't find her? The Raikage asked the Anbu, who was shaking like a scared rabbit in front of him. We've looked everywhere, Raikage-sama, but she's nowhere to be found. The seal we use to keep her in line isn't sending out a signal to tell us where she is, and we can't find the person who caused the destruction that saved Yugito from her beating. I think someone took that part of her seal, said the Anbu, who could see that his cage was furious about this and that soon a head would roll. You think? That part of her seal was also her limiter seal to keep Yugito from reaching her full potential with her demon. If someone took it off, she'll be able to control all the power of her demon and come back here to kill me for all the years I let the people of this village hurt her, said the Raikage, who was secretly sweating bullets and wondering how he was going to beat his once prized weapon. We'll try twice as hard, the Anbu officer told Raikage-sama before leaving to find his tracker team and go after the Nibby ship again. My weapon won't turn against me. The Raikage thought to himself as he pulled out a bottle of sake and started drinking heavily from it. I will make sure that such betrayals are met with my unforgiving wrath, which will make her beg to be my loyal weapon once more. Not sure where. Yugito woke up in a bed that wasn't hers, only wearing her underwear. For a moment, she thought she had been raped. The Nibby told her that wasn't true, though, because the demon inside her had been awake the whole time to make sure she wasn't touched in an inappropriate way. The blonde woman looked at the bed she was in one more time and noticed that it was very soft and big enough for several people to sleep on at once. Yugito looked around the dark room and saw some clothes on a chair next to a desk. If the door to her room had opened, she would have gotten up to get them. She quickly covered herself up and pretended to be sleeping. If she had to, she would try to attack him when he wasn't paying attention. The person walked up to her bed with a tray of food and put it on the nightstand next to the big bed. He then turned to face the sleeping person in front of him. You can stop pretending now, Yugito-san. I know you're awake right now because your chakra signature and the Nibby inside you both went up when you woke up, the figure said. He was waiting for her reaction, which he could sense from another spike of chakra, and as soon as she did, she moved to attack him. I will not be your slave or weapon like I was the Raikage, said Yugito. If she had been paying attention, she would have remembered she was in her underwear and tried to hide her body instead of showing it when she tried to hurt the person who saved her. I never wanted you to be my slave or personal weapon, Yugito-san. If I did, I would have made your limiter seal stronger instead of just removing it, the figure said, grabbing one of her fists before grabbing the other and bringing her closer to his masked form. Yugito was so shocked by what he said that she didn't fight against him, even though she was right next to him. It took her a moment to realize that she was in her underwear and close to a man who, based on the sound of his voice, could do anything to her at any time. Yugito squeaked and got out of the man's grip. She ran back under the covers to hide her body and glared at the man as if it were his fault that things had gone wrong. Pervert. Yugito hissed at him like a cat, and some of the Nibby chakra started to flow out of her body. She stopped when she felt his crimson one flash, which pulled her back into her own body. Maybe if I were still human, but as you can see from the chakra pulse I just gave off, I'm not. I saved you, Yugito, because you and I are similar, said the figure as he walked over to a light switch and turned it on so she could see him clearly. Yugito noticed that he wasn't wearing his cloak. Since so many people had tried to hurt her, it was probably in the washer getting washed and wouldn't be thrown away for a while. She saw that he had red hair and was wearing clothes that looked like they were from the Anbu. On his right leg, he had the standard kunai pouch, and a long hunting knife with sharp edges on one side and a flat surface on the other was hidden higher up. On his left side was a sword that looked very dangerous and was in perfect condition. She could smell blood on it, which told her that it had killed its fair share of people, and the knife had almost the same amount. At least he's in shape if his arms are any indication, Yugito thought as she fought off a blush and looked at the tray of food the man had just brought in. The food isn't poisoned, if that's what you think. Like I said, I have no reason to hurt you or put you through more of the hell these rude humans have put you through, the figure said as she walked to another chair and sat down after taking the clothes that were meant for her. I don't think you'd let a girl get dressed before you fed her, would you? Yugito asked. At that moment, she heard her stomach growl, which made her blush. She wondered if the Nibby had anything to do with it. The figure turned his head to the right as he thought, then threw the clothes on the bed. They were just out of reach, so Yugito would have to show her body to get them, which was the last thing she wanted to do. She glared at him, but he didn't seem to notice because he was wearing that mask. After a few more glares, she gave in and got the clothes to wear under the bedsheets. That's interesting. You chose clothes over food, the figure said, making Yugito blush. When her stomach made another loud protest, it made her blush even more. Shut up, you pervert. I just thought my modesty was more important than my hunger, Yugito said after she finished getting dressed and went to get a tray of food, which she ate in a way that was not proper for a woman. She looked like an animal that was hungry and starving. That's a cat-like answer, if I've ever heard one. It's clear that the Nibby in you is much more powerful in your mind now than she was before I removed the limiter seal, the figure said with a sigh before leaving the woman alone. Wait, why did you save me? Why did you defend me when no one else would? Why did you remove a part of the seal on me that kept the Nibby inside at bay? Yugito asked, wondering what this person got out of saving her besides wanting to get physical with her, which she wouldn't let him do and would kill him if he tried. I've already told you this, Yugito-san, you and I are alike. For now, rest a little longer in your bed, and then meet me downstairs for a good talk. I don't want to hurt you, the figure said before leaving the room and closing the door. Nibby, what do you think? Should I believe in him? Yugito thought this to her demon, who, after so many years of being beaten, had become the woman's closest thing to a friend and helped her deal with all the beatings. He is strong. I haven't felt that chakra in years. You should trust him, my little kitten, because he could have killed you at any time because he used to hold the Kyuubi inside of him, said the Nibby, purring as she thought about all the things she had done with the Kyuubi. Or doing things to each other. Ew. To believe that you are a bigger pervert than he is. What do you mean when you say he used to? Yugito thought this because she knew what Nibby meant when she said it when she was with the Kyuubi. Oh, hush, kitten. It's not perverted if both partners like it. What I mean is that Kyuubi is no longer held within that man, but has instead absorbed my nine-tailed hunk and become just like him in his place. Did you see those muscled arms of his? If only I could be free so I could take my human form, I would rock that hard body of his until next. Nibby said, but Yugito told her to stop because the fantasies were. Yugito thought, it makes sense that you'd be this horny for the fox after being locked up inside me for so long, and he decided to face this unknown person who had the power of Nibby's former love interest, to see what he had to offer. Oh, it's more than that, my kitten. You're too young to know what it's like to lay next to someone who can make you shiver with excitement, and just because he's gone doesn't mean that his true spirit doesn't still live on in his vessel. Get to know him, my kitten. Trust me, as you always have, and I promise that following him will lead you to a much better life, Nibby said, knowing that her vessel would listen to her since Yug. Yugito nodded at her demon's words and ate her food much more slowly. When she was done, she put the tray on the nightstand and went downstairs to talk to this mysterious person who might be her savior. Raikage Tower 2 weeks later. The Raikage was more angry than he had ever been in his life when he asked, "You still can't find her?" This made the Anbu team in the room with him nervous. No, Raikage-sama. We've been looking everywhere for her, but we still can't find her, and it's hard to keep the people calm about it because almost everyone in Kumo has been mean to the Nibby vessel, said the Anbu captain, who saw the Raikage looking at him with a lot of anger and fear. Of course they should be scared, you idiot. She's probably recovered from her last attack and will try to kill us with the power we gave her at birth so she could do what we wanted her to do, said the Raikage, who wanted to say more but couldn't because screams were coming from behind his office doors. The screaming people in the halls soon caused his doors to explode toward his Anbu team, leaving a trail of blood. When the Raikage looked where the doors had been, he saw Yugito standing next to a cloaked, masked figure covered in the blood of his shinobi guards. You're the Raikage, right? Asked the man while Yugito stood in front of the nervous Anbu team that had been searching for her. So what if I am? Who the hell are you? What have you done to my weapon? Asked the Raikage when he noticed Yugito was putting out more chakra than usual and acting more like a wild cat. She's not your weapon anymore. I broke the bonds you put on her and set her free. It's people like you who make the good ones lose favor with Kami. But that doesn't matter. You're just the beginning in this village. I'm going to make sure that everyone who hurt Yugito, from you to the lowest villager, pays for their sins, and I'm going to make sure that your trip to hell is a memorable one. Said the figure as he formed a. That can't be. The Yondaime only taught that technique to his sensei, and that man never took on an apprentice after that stupid Namikaze died, said the Raikage, trying to figure out who was hiding behind the mask. Namikaze. So that's my father's last name. Thank you for telling me that before I send you to the depths of hell, said the masked figure to the shocked Raikage, who had just seen the figure disappear before his eyes and then reappear right in front of him, slamming the jutsu into his gut. The man screamed as his blood came to life and poured out of every hole on his body, including his pores, his eye sockets, his ears, his nose, his mouth, and every other hole that could be found on a human. Blood stained the wall the Raikage had backed up against, as well as the walls on either side of them and the ceiling above them, before the man exploded into 1,000 pieces, leaving only his head on his desk. It was a terrible thing to see. Please don't kill us, Namikaze-sama. We were just following the Raikage's orders to hurt Yugito-san with the seal his predecessor put on her years ago, said the Anbu captain, who was on his knees in front of the man who had killed the Raikage and was now the new Raikage. If that's what you want, I won't kill you, the man said as he walked toward the door. He stopped when he heard the Anbu team breathe a sigh of relief. Such stupid humans, Nibby said in Yugito's head, giggling like a little schoolgirl while Yugito was trying not to laugh at what Naruto had just said.
Yugito will be the one to take your lives at her leisure.
Enjoy giving them the pain they deserve, my dear, the figure said as he walked out of the room and went to find more arrogant fools to punish and make sure they got what they deserved. I told you, my kitten is a keeper. Now let's show these humans what it means to mess with a female demon, said Nibby, purring with delight at the bloodlust she was going to feel from these scared humans before her vessel. The late Raikage's room was filled with screams of unimaginable pain for hours, which was music to the masked Namikaze's ears. Konoha 2 weeks later. Tsunade asked Jiraiya, who was nervously looking at her because she was giving him the "I'm going to hurt you" look, who did Kumo fall? I don't know, Tsunade-heim. No one does. Most of the people there were killed by someone in a black cloak and white mask. Those who saw him are just calling him the Hokage since he killed the Raikage all by himself. Some say this guy took the head of the Raikage and sent it somewhere. This guy could be a mercenary of some kind who has been waiting for the right time to strike. Shizune ran into the room and yelled, "Hokage-sama! Hokage-sama! Come quickly!" She was pale and looked like she had seen something terrible. Shizune's face looked like she had seen a ghost, so Tsunade got up from her desk and asked, "What's up?" "It's the Raikage's head. It was left in front of Hyuga Neji's room at the Hyuga compound branch member complex," Shizune said, not knowing what that means for the village or the Hyuga clan. Tsunade said, "What? Let's go." And ran off to find out what the Raikage's head in the Hyuga compound meant for Konoha. Elsewhere. Why do you want me to bring him back to life, Naruto? He served Orochimaru without question since he was a child. Why bring someone like that back? Yugito asked, knowing that Nibby's powers could give the person Naruto wanted brought back to life with his own demonic powers to restore the body of the person brought back to life. Because we need him to pay for his sins of serving Orochimaru. Once we bring him back to life, he will serve us loyally, just like he did the Sannin, Naruto said as he and Sasuke looked at Kagaya Kimimaro's decaying body and wondered if the man would serve them loyally or go back to serving Orochimaru. Without waiting any longer, Yugito called on the Nibby's chakra to swirl around Kimimaro's body and began to bring the man's soul back to his body while Naruto used his demonic chakra to restore the albino's body to what it once was. When Kimimaro screamed in pain as his soul reconnected to his body, which was still being fixed, it was clear that he had come back. He was hovering in the air while he was being given new life. Soon, Yugito sent the Nibby chakra back to her while Naruto focused on Kimimaro's healing, which was important for him to live. He also started to work on his lungs, which had been affected by an old lung disease that had to be cured for good if he wanted the albino to be loyal to him. When he was done, Naruto let go of Kimimaro's demonic chakra, which caused the man to fall to the ground gasping for air and silently scream in pain. Before he opened his eyes and saw two people looking down at him, the albino was moving around in pain like a worm on a fishhook. Who are you? Kimimaro asked, looking up at the masked man and blonde woman and wondering if he had died and gone to hell or been reborn into another life. Who we are now doesn't matter until we decide it does. Right now, you Kagaya Kimimaro belong to me, Naruto told the man, who was looking at him and shaking his head. No, my loyalty is to Orochimaru-sama, and I will always be loyal to him. He gave me a purpose, love, and... Kimimaro started to say, but Naruto cut him off. He gave you a curse seal that binds you to him. It is not a sign of love or a sign of purpose, Kimimaro. It is the mark of a puppet, and Orochimaru is the puppeteer who was pulling your strings until they broke after you died from that fatal disease in your body that I cured. Yugito and I brought you back from the dead, Kimimaro. You're lying. He showed me love, devotion, and a reason to fight," said Kimimaro as he tried to bring his bloodline to his arm so he could hit this dishonorable man who had the nerve to talk bad about his master. "He showed you what you wanted to see, Kimimaro. You're the fool for not seeing that, but you've been loyal to him for so long that you can't help it. I gave you a new life, Kimimaro. Do I not deserve some of that fanatical loyalty you showed to the Sannin?" Naruto asked when he saw the albino narrow his eyes at him and stop trying to pull bones out of his body using his bloodline. Yugito repeated what Nibby had said because the cat demon could tell what Naruto was doing. "He is telling the truth, Kimimaro-san. He took the disease out of your body and gave you a permanent cure for it, so it will never come back in your family again." Kimimaro asked the masked man, "Why did you do that? Didn't you know that my first thought would be to go back to Orochimaru-sama?" The masked man nodded his head and then reached out his hand to the albino. "Yes, but I think that, while your loyalty to him is admirable, it has been put in the wrong place and needs to be put toward a cause worthy of your amazing skills," Naruto said when he saw the man take his hand and help him get up. "And what might that cause be, if I may ask?" asked Kimimaro, who didn't know the masked man's name and couldn't call him by it until he did. "You can call me Naruto. My name is Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto, and I'm the Hokage and Demon Lord of what will soon be all the elemental countries," Naruto told the shocked man. "You are the boy I fought before, the one who made so many shadow clones to get the Uchiha back to Konoha and kept me busy long enough for that strange boy with bowl-shaped hair and strange fighting techniques to take over so you could go after your target. Kimimaro, do I look like that boy now?" Naruto said, taking off his mask and hood to show the man his face and making the albino shake in fear. "And no, Hokage-sama. Forgive me," Kimimaro said, then knelt down in front of his new master because it was not smart to anger a demon lord. "This one time, Kimimaro, you will be forgiven, but you have a lot to make up for when you worked for Orochimaru. From now on, you will earn your repentance through me and the work we do in the different places I send you. If you don't, I'll take back what I gave you, and Yugito will do the same if I find out you're not doing what we asked. Understand?" Naruto said, his eyes glowing crimson, and they told the albino, who was now obeying them, that he had to work for them or die again. "I promise to be loyal to you, Hokage-sama, until I die." Again, Kimimaro said, kneeling down in front of Naruto and looking him in the eyes to show that he meant every word. "Good. Our next job is to look for people who are part of Akatsuki. Luckily, I know where they'll strike first. That's why we're going to the borders of Wind Country," Naruto said when he saw the albino nod, even though he'd need the right clothes for a place like that because it's a desert. "If it's okay with Hokage-sama, I'd like to ask, who is Akatsuki, the group that lives in Wind Country?" said Kimimaro, who knew that to kill a hunter, you have to look at the person who is being hunted. "One of my closest friends. He is from Suna. He goes by the name Subaku no Gaara, and from what I've heard, he's become the Kazekage of Suna since he went back there after the failed Suna invasion. But you can't come with us, Kimimaro. The intense sunlight there will burn you to a crisp, and I need you to take care of some business in Wave Country about the contracts they have with Konoha. They will run out in a few years, and I want the Wave Country trade to go to a village that has already started making up for its past mistakes. While Yugito and I save Gaara, I want you, Kimimaro, to write up new trade contracts for Wave Country and have them start trading with Suna as soon as the contract from Konoha ends. Can I trust you to do something like this?" says Naruto when he sees the albino staring at him with a look that says he will succeed no matter what. "I'll start right away, Hokage-sama. Who do I need to talk to about how to handle the contact?" Kimimaro said, because he needed to know who he was dealing with and how to handle the situation. "Find a man with the name Tsunade. People named the bridge after me because he is the best bridge builder there. You will be kind to him and his family, just like you will to him. Tell them I'm alive and well, and they'll know what I'm talking about. Also, while you were dead, I moved the Fuma clan to Wave Country. If they see you, they'll probably think you're an enemy. Take this," Naruto said, handing Kimimaro a pendant with the kanji for Kyuubi on it. The albino took it without question and looked at it for a while. "This will show them that I'm with you, Hokage-sama," Kimimaro said as he looked from the necklace to Naruto. "Yes. Don't lose that Kimimaro, because it's the only way they'll know you're loyal to me if I'm not with you, Naruto said. He knew that if it fell into the wrong hands, someone might think he was still alive despite what his traitorous sensei had said in Konoha. I understand, Hokage-sama. I'll go to Wave Country right away, Kimimaro said as he bowed to his master. When Naruto pointed in the right direction, Kimimaro went in that direction. Naruto, can we trust him? Yugito said when Kimimaro was out of earshot. Yes. I could see that he was a true friend in his eyes. He will work hard for us like he worked hard for Orochimaru, and that is what matters. We gave him a new life, and we made sure he would never get sick again. He would kill Orochimaru himself if I asked him to, and I have no doubt he could easily become a Sannin, Naruto said as he put on his mask and hood and left this place full of bones with Yugito right behind him. So little time, so many things to do.
So that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel for more awesome stories like this. Thank you. See you all in my next video.